Good evening, everyone. I'm Janine, Head of Public Services here at the Palos Heights Library, and welcome to our virtual program this evening. We are here to learn how to make non-toxic cleaning products from Kate Carney from the Cook County's Department of Environment and Sustainability. But before we get to our program tonight, we're going to just review some of the upcoming programs we have coming up this month. Next week, on Tuesday, July 13th, we have Chicago's Murals, the communities, celebrities, and whimsical characters you'll find in them. We have retired educator Beth Sarah will be here to tell us about the backstories to these murals that we see around the city. And on Thursday, July 15th, we have a special program, the Pre-Civil War Quilts and the Secret Codes to Freedom on the Underground Railroad. This program is sponsored by the Illinois Humanities program, and we have presenter Connie Martin will talk about the codes and the things she found from her 1865 Bible, her family Bible, of when her family were slaves. So we'll find out all kinds of information on that. On Tuesday, July 20th, we have Pristine Patagonia. For those of you getting the travel bug, we have world traveler Brian Mikulski will be here to talk about Patagonia, the region, the food, the people, and of course, the beautiful photographs that you're seeing on the screen right now. And then, of course, we have upcoming on Thursday, the 22nd, we have Cocktails from Your Garden. That's the Harvest Room's co-owner, Carrie Saragas, will talk about the herbs that she grows and how you can use them for simple syrups to make different drinks like teas and cocktails. And the final program of July, we will wrap up July with the armchair tour of the solar system. We will have the Adler Planetarium's Michelle Nichols will be here to give a great talk. So we're looking forward to seeing you at those. Of course, all of those are virtual programs, just like tonight's program. So you do need to register at phlibrary.org to receive that link. But tonight we are here to learn how to make some non-toxic cleaning products. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we are going to welcome, as I mentioned, Kate Carney. She is the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Department of Environment and Sustainability for Cook County. So welcome, Kate. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Kate, I know we talked a little bit before we got started. You did send me a couple handouts that somebody might have some questions. I would be happy to send those handouts to all the folks who signed up in your email. So after the program, I will email those out to them, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Included in those handouts are a version or a copy of the presentation I'll be sharing today, as well as the recipes that are in the presentation and also information about household hazardous waste. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So many clicks, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about, I apologize. We're going to be talking about green cleaning, not the energy efficiency piece of that. It was a presentation I changed. And so we're going to talk about how we can create non-toxic cleaners at home, can help save us money, and also can help to reduce household hazardous waste in our homes, which is a great benefit to the environment. So just to start out, I am a part of Cook County's Department of Environment and Sustainability. We have a mission within our department to foster healthy, resilient, and thriving communities. We want to help to improve the quality of life while we protect our natural environment, promote sustainability and environmental justice for all of us. Every single resident of the county, all of our stakeholders, and all of our natural environment deserve absolutely the best for all of us, for our health, safety, and for the longevity of our environment. We do this in lots of ways, but we're going to focus primarily on reducing household hazardous waste and learning how to make those green cleaners. So to start with, let's talk a little bit about household hazardous waste, because those cleaning products that we can replace with these non-toxic items or recipes really do make up the bulk of our household hazardous waste. We consider a household hazardous waste product to contain chemicals and other ingredients that can be corrosive and toxic. They can increase risk of explosion and fire, not only in our homes, but also if not disposed of properly. These items cannot go to the landfill. There are regulations that state that these items cannot go into our standard landfills. They have to be disposed of in special ways. So we want to make sure that our homes are safer, our landfills are safer, and everything in between are. Household hazardous wastes are a lot of different kinds of items, but it's a lot of your standard things that you would think of, like acids and gasolines and oils, but it also can include insect repellents and varnish and different kinds of fungicides and fertilizers, but also fire extinguishers. So we want to make sure that we're handling these materials properly within our homes and also on the way to be disposed of. I want to make sure that we all know the proper way to dispose of household hazardous waste. So the easiest way to reduce or to have safe homes in respect to household hazardous waste is to just reduce in the first place, to purchase fewer items, to only purchase what we need, to make sure that we're using up those items completely before we get more. So just making sure that we can minimize harm from household hazardous waste by reducing it. We can also switch to less harmful alternatives, like we're going to talk about tonight. And there are some tools that, in addition to this talk, can help you with that on your own. We have our Cook County Green Guide Library. So this is a living document. It's an ever-growing resource that we've put together on our website. So if you go to cookcountyil.gov and search for Green Guide Library, you can find that. And it has lots of information about all kinds of waste. It's not just household hazardous waste. Can help give you guidelines on recycling right and other ways to reduce the waste from your homes. Also some information about compost on there, which is pretty fantastic. There's also a really great resource from the EPA. So Safer Choice is a website you can go to, epa.gov/saferchoice, and that can give you a lot of suggestions on how to otherwise reduce your household hazardous waste. It can also give you other suggestions on replacement items if there are things that you can't make at home. Earth 911 is an invaluable resource for finding places to recycle or dispose of the tricky items, sometimes household hazardous waste or things like batteries, those types of things. Earth 911 is a great resource for that. We also can explore and get familiar with green certifications, because if we're familiar with those green certifications, we can recognize those on products that we might purchase. And Eco Label Index is a great way to learn more about the variety of green certifications. There's so many, I probably couldn't even get into all of them here tonight anyways. All right, so we are talking household hazardous waste in regards to cleaning products, right? So we want to start at the very beginning, and how do we know that something is clean? We look for smell or feel or a shininess, and that is getting us to this definition of clean is to be free from dirt, marks, unwanted matter. That unwanted matter, I think, is probably the germs, right? We're really still in the midst of dealing with a global pandemic. And so we've all probably been cleaning more than maybe we used to, using harsher chemicals. That isn't necessarily the answer to helping to keep us safe by replacing a germ with a chemical that could potentially cause harm. So the traditional way that we get to that level of cleanliness is using these chemicals. And today I want to hopefully give you some great ways to avoid some of those chemicals. But you might be thinking, what are these chemicals? So in an average US household, there are 62 toxic chemicals. And that is a lot of potential hazard, right? The worst of and the most common of these are in this list. It's phthalates and it's triclosan, it's quats and ammonia and chlorine. These things can be found in everything from air fresheners to oven cleaners and drain openers and everything in between. The different chemicals can cause different potentially harmful side effects. Many of these are carcinogens, so they can increase your risk of cancers. They can disrupt many different bodily functions, your endocrine system, your liver, and your kidneys. They can cause lung issues, not only with increasing the chance of getting asthma, but also some of these things like ammonia, like in glass cleaners, can actually burn your lungs and your esophagus and your nasal passages if you inhale it when you've sprayed it. So there's a lot of reasons why we want to try to avoid these chemicals where we can. Now, I always approach these things from there has to be a balance, right? So some of these things we can't necessarily eliminate completely, especially when we are dealing with needing to get things very, very clean from an antibacterial perspective. But I do want to point out that triclosan has been found in lots of different products, dishwashing and laundry detergents, into antibacterial soaps. It's often in the hand sanitizers that we're all using. And these can actually lead to antibiotic resistance. And that can be in us as an individual in using these products, but then it also gets into the water system and can inadvertently cause that antibiotic resistance in a wider spread. So there's lots of reasons that we want to try to minimize these products while keeping a balance, because sometimes we do need these. Sometimes we need to use that hand sanitizer for safety's sake. So let's get right into some recipes that are super easy. And most of these ingredients we probably already have in our homes, even if you're not making your own cleaners. Borax, baking soda, and salt can be combined to replace those scouring powders that often have bleach and chlorine and sometimes even ammonia in them. And they actually do a really good job. So if you do 2 parts of borax, 1 part baking soda, and 1 part salt. And I like to think about it in parts, because then you can make as little or as much as you need. This can be made in a large batch and kept in a sealed container to use as you need, and it stays perfectly good. Or you can make a small batch because you're just cleaning your sink. So you combine the 3 ingredients, you sprinkle it on, you use a scrub brush, and that's it. If you happen to have a hard stain, something that's really, like rust stains or something like that in your bathtub, if you add a little water to make it into a paste and let it sit for a little bit, you can then scrub it off, and it does a really good job. I've used this for a lot of different surfaces, and it's great. One of the other great things about it is that baking soda has some natural antibacterial properties. So you're still getting that level of cleanliness without having to put a lot of harsh chemicals into your house. All right, another common one is glass cleaner. And like I mentioned, glass cleaner has ammonia in it, and it can be really dangerous to us if we are inhaling it. And so we can avoid that completely with, again, 2 ingredients we probably have at our homes already, just plain white vinegar and water, equal parts into a spray bottle, and it works great. It even gets, like greasy handprints off of glass. I've tried all kinds of experiments to make sure that this worked, and it got all kinds of gunk off of mirrors and glass surfaces. Also, a tidbit that some people already use is that if you use a newspaper instead of like a cloth or a paper towel, actually can reduce a lot of the streaks and the lint that it leaves behind when you're wiping it down. So you can reuse that newspaper while also using a non-toxic cleaner. All right, another one is all-purpose cleaner. So this can literally be used on any surface unless it's a delicate surface. I know that some countertops you have to use a special cleaner for, but for most surfaces, a general all-purpose cleaner with, again, ingredients that we most likely already have. It's water, vinegar, and baking soda. If you want to have a nice fresh lemony scent, you could add some essential oils, but that's not necessary. Again, you get that natural antibacterial properties from baking soda. If you really want to pack an extra punch, some tea tree oil has additional antibacterial properties. You could add that to it. Do you want to make sure that when you're making it, you add the vinegar first, then the waters, then add the oils if you're going to use any of the essential oils, and then last the baking soda. Otherwise, you might get a science experiment explosion. So making sure that we're putting those in the right order, spray it on the surfaces, wipe it with a clean cloth, and you're good to go. Fairly simple ingredients and combination to really take you far. All right, now toilet bowl cleaners. This is another one that usually has bleach, chlorine, ammonia in it, and it's a place that we really want to make sure is completely clean. So the combination of borax, baking soda, and vinegar combine them, put them into the toilet bowl, mix it around so it gets on the sides with your toilet brush, let it sit for about a half an hour so it can do its natural work, and then you scrub it and you're all done. Again, with these ingredients that we're talking about with the vinegar and the borax, the baking soda, these items also are safer to put into our water systems because everything that we flush down the toilet or let down the sink drain has to go through a cleaning process and can sometimes be absorbed into the environment before it goes fully through that cleaning process. If there's a leaky pipe or if we're having an overflow day, I know that we had all that rain recently and that caused the potential for a lot of overflows from our sewage system. So we want to make sure that what we're putting down into these systems is not going to do harm to the water supply in the long run, because all the water we have is all the water we're ever going to have. All right, now the last one is floor cleaner. To make this floor cleaner, you make it in a batch and then you use small amounts over time. So it's water, Castile soap, and essential oils. The essential oils are particularly necessary to get that nice fresh pine scent, but also the pine and the cypress do help to, if you're using it on wood, it helps to moisturize the wood a little bit. So this one is, you put all these ingredients together, you add 2 tablespoons for every gallon of hot water you're using, mix it and mop. I love this particular recipe because it is good for pretty much all floor types. So your hardwoods, your tiles, your ceramic floors, all of the floors, it's good to go. But also I found with a lot of homemade floor cleaner in recipes, you have to mop with the cleaner and then you mop again to rinse the soap off. And I like that there's enough soap in this recipe that you're cleaning your floor, but not so much that you have to rinse it unless you want to. So I like that aspect of this one a lot. All right, so to properly dispose of household hazardous waste that you might already have at your house, maybe you have that half full bucket of oil-based paint, or you really are not going to use that glass cleaner. You can't put those in your trash can. Those are household hazardous waste materials. They can cause problems in our landfills, so you have to dispose of them properly. There are 3 locations that you can drop them off any time during their business hours for all Illinois residents, and that's one in the city of Chicago. That is on North Branch Street. There's one in Naperville, and there's one in Rockford. I realize that these aren't all convenient to all people, so there are also sometimes local events, like local drop-off events, that communities will hold. And I recommend taking advantage of those when you can, but knowing that there's always these 3 locations that you can take your materials to. I do recommend that if you need to get rid of like a computer or something else and you want to go to the City of Chicago location, give them a call in advance, make sure they're accepting that material and that they're open and their hours are right so that you can make sure you're disposing of your items properly. And again, I want to reiterate, we have a super awesome Green Guide library to share information with you. I also provided our household hazardous waste flyer, which has all these drop-off center locations and has information about what needs to go to the special drop-offs, and also reminders about taking advantage of EPA Safer Choice to find alternatives to some of the items and the products that you use. Also, I'm always available. If you have questions, please feel free to email me. I will get back to you as quickly as I can with as many answers as I can. But I would love it if there was questions now about non-toxic cleaners.
Catherine, you do have a couple questions,
Excellent.
right? Barbara wants to know, what is borax? Shows you don't see that often in the stores.
Yes, so borax is a mineral. So much like salt is a mineral, borax is a mineral. It is used often as a supplement or a replacement for laundry cleaning, and it's been used for a very long time. I at first was like, borax, I never see that, but you can find it actually in a surprising number of stores. It's usually on like a bottom shelf near the laundry soap. So I have found it at several different grocery stores, and I found it at Target, and I think I've seen it at Walmart as well. And I'm pretty sure that you can get it at Whole Foods or like through Amazon. So it is a detergent basically.
Okay, and then Barbara asked, how long will these homemade products last? In other words, can you keep them for several weeks, or do you have to make a new batch each time you clean?
Oh, absolutely. You can, they can last for several weeks for sure. I wouldn't, wouldn't like make like massive batches because you still have to store them, but they're not going to go bad right away. I would say use ones that you're adding essential oils to a little bit faster than the ones that you don't add essential oils to. But yeah, they last, especially that scouring scrub. That thing never goes bad. I made a huge batch of it and was giving away samples at a previous job, and they lasted forever and they worked super effectively.
Okay, great. And then Sheila wants to know if you have a recipe for weed killer.
So weed killer, you can actually do salt water for weed killer onto the, or baking soda onto the weeds. You do have to, with most natural weed killers, you do have to get to them like at the beginning of the season before they start coming up. I don't really know of a recipe off the top of my head for tackling weeds in their current state. But generally, if you mix like baking soda or salt and water, you could spray that on. But yeah, I think usually you have to get to it like early in the spring before those weeds start coming up in your lawn in particular.
Okay.
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, no easy answer for those weeds.
No.
Carol mentions in the chat, she says residents of Orland Park can use a service through Waste Management called At Your Door. They will pick up by appointment hazardous materials, electronics free of charge. And I don't know if other towns offer this service, but I would imagine if you called your city hall or your town, whoever the center of government is for your town or village or city, that you would certainly be able to figure that out, no?
I agree with you completely. Checking with your municipality, maybe they just haven't started advertising yet. Maybe they're going to be doing a drop-off event. A lot of times they do those in the spring and in the fall. So in the next couple of months, a lot of communities will start doing that. There was a bit of a lag over the last year due to COVID restrictions, but I know that a lot of communities are really trying to pick that back up because it is such a popular and invaluable resource for the residents. So I do recommend that. I have heard about that waste management at your door when I've done this presentation with other libraries. So I know that it's offered in other communities if waste management is the hauler. So definitely check on that because that's an amazing resource. But then again, either you have a private contract with waste management or your community has one. So it's getting paid for. It's a service that's being paid for. So you really should take advantage of it.
Okay. And then Julie asks, does baking soda ever go bad? She bought a giant bag at Costco a couple years ago and had barely made a dent.
I don't think so. I think that the biggest thing that you need to worry about is it getting clumpy. So if some moisture got in there and it could clump together, it's going to get hard. But no, I've never had any issues with baking soda going bad. But you're really set to go for all these recipes if you have a giant bag from Costco.
Thank goodness to Costco, right? Hey, Barbara asks, have you ever figured the cost of say the homemade cleaner versus Comet or Bon Ami? How much are we saving?
Okay, so I don't have like exact dollar amounts, And I think that it's a slightly larger upfront cost because you have to buy that whole box of borax, right? But you're going to be able to use that for so many recipes that when you start looking at the whole picture, it is actually more cost effective to make your own cleaners. Also, a good portion, depending on the product, it could be up to 90% of the product that you're purchasing is just water. So to be able to use the water coming out of your tap as opposed to paying a huge markup to get a bottle of 90% water and a few chemicals that are going to do the cleaning, it is a lot more cost effective to make your own.
I would imagine you can also talk about the other costs that are involved on the environment and that kind of thing, you know.
Absolutely, because then you're also avoiding the cost for the environmental cost, obviously, of the risk of that getting into the environment and causing greater issues on a larger scale. Like I showed you at the beginning, one of those possible side effects of some of these chemicals has a major impact on algae, which is a huge resource for the earth to capture carbon instead of releasing it into the atmosphere as a greenhouse gas. And so there's these unquantifiable costs, but then also the quantifiable cost of how much it costs for MWRD to clean the water that we are flushing down our toilets and letting go through our dish drains. So to have fewer of those chemicals means that that process can be more effective and more cost effective and also faster.
Okay, thank you. And then Christine asks, what product do you recommend for cleaning laundry?
So for laundry, it depends on your personal preferences. Borax and baking soda are a great combination for white clothing. Those can help to to naturally whiten things. Castile soap and borax are a great combination for washing most laundry, and it usually works well with cold loads. um, I personally have found a product that 'cause I live in an apartment. I don't have laundry here. I have to go somewhere else to do my laundry. So I found these little strips that come in a cardboard packaging. So the packaging can be recycled. And then it's just a strip and it dissolves fully. So that's a little bit better than like those pods that the plastic, which mostly dissolve, but then little tiny, bits of microplastic are going through the water system, and those are hard to filter out at the cleaning end of the water process. So I personally like those. They're called True Earth, and you can get them scented or unscented, and they're made with all like eco product or eco ingredients. So I know that it's biodegradable and it does a good job of cleaning. So those are the things. So there are some really great recipes out there depending on your comfort level with making your own detergents, or there's some really good products out there like those strips that you can use for a greener laundry experience.
Okay, thank you. And then Kathy asks, can you use the all-purpose cleaner on wood furniture?
I think I would probably use the floor cleaner on wood furniture as opposed to the all-purpose cleaner, because that works great for wood floors. But let's look back at the ingredients. All-purpose cleaner. It's water, vinegar, and baking soda. So the baking soda, I would be concerned that being potentially abrasive, but it should fully dissolve in 3.5 cups of liquid. So it probably would be okay.
Or can you show the ingredients on the floor cleaner?
Absolutely. This one's water and Castile soap as the primary ingredients, and then essential oils.
Mm-hmm.
And Castile soap is super gentle. It's fully biodegradable. It is a really gentle soap. A little bit goes a long way without overdoing it on the soapiness. And it's a really good product. Like a lot of people will use that for their babies, use it for bathing their babies. That it's a really gentle soap.
And Castile soap can be found where?
So it's found at most stores. This
Okay.
particular picture is Dr. Bronner's, which is the most popular brand that I know of. That I know you can find it at Target, Walmart, and a lot of grocery stores. But there's other brands too. So it's widely available at grocery stores and most like general stores like a Target.
Okay. And then Christine asks, are fabric sheets safe in the dryer to use?
So so the fabric sheets can actually leave a residue on your clothing that then the next time you wash it needs to be washed off. So using alternatives like the wool balls to help to reduce the static and to fluff like especially your towels, but they give a little fluffing action for your fabrics to help make the dry cycle a little bit gentler is a really good alternative. There are some really great uses for really hard to clean things with those fabric softener sheets though. So again, I feel like it's important to keep balance. I often will use those sheets in conjunction with my other eco choices. So, got to keep the balance. But if you're really looking to go as far sustainable as you possibly can, you probably want to skip the sheets.
Okay, great. And then Barbara asked, what about fabric softener as a green product?
I don't know. I don't personally know if there are any green or eco fabric softeners, like the liquid ones I assume you're asking about. I'm going to guess that there are recipes out there for making your own. I haven't personally done that research, but if you go to the EPA's Safer Choice website, you can probably put in what you normally use, find out how good that is, on the scale of the sustainability, and then they'll have some options for you that would possibly be greener.
Okay, great. And Kathy asks, what is the best product for the dishwasher?
So that one is, I think, I need to get a recipe for that. I would assume that one's going to be similar to it probably would be a combination of Castile soap and baking soda, maybe some vinegar. But I apologize, I don't have a recipe for that. But if you want to email me, I'll put my email into the chat right now. If you'd like to email me, I could find a recipe and a recipe and I can send that to you.
Okay, great. Carol says she uses white vinegar in her washing machine rinse cycle instead of fabric softeners.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then Julie continues on and says she uses vinegar and water and lavender essential oil for fabric softener, and it works great.
Yeah, lavender is a great scent because it does really help to tone down that vinegar scent without being super artificial or overpowering.
Yeah. So it sounds like we have a lot of people out there experimenting with a few things already.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Then we have, okay, Kathy. So Kate just shared it with everybody. Was that to all panelists and to all attendees?
I did to all panelists. Let me do it to all attendees. I apologize.
Okay. I know your email, Kate.
Yeah, you've messaged me a few times, right?
We can share that with everybody.
There we go. Okay,
that should go there you go. Right. So, well, yeah, that would be nice for you to share that with us. And right, I don't see any other questions, any other comments, folks, that you might have. I know that I did say, like I said in the beginning, Kate had sent me right before we got started two pages of information that I'll forward that on to you folks who, so you can see what else she has to say here.
Yeah.
Some
And
other
Sheila,
resources and that kind of thing.
yeah, if Sheila, if you want to email me also about the weed killer, I'll do a little research and try to point you in the right direction on that. Again, I live in an apartment. I don't have a lawn. And I can only garden on my balcony, so I don't have those recipes. But they would be good recipes to have.
So you might have touched on this when we first started, but anything else that you can share with us about, cleaning during these pandemic times?
Yes. So, like I said, we do need to keep a balance between our health and safety as far as the germs are concerned, the COVID germs, and again, we'll be getting into cold season in a few months, which was really helped by the masks and everybody being home all the time. So we're probably going to see a resurgence of that, not in a few months like we normally would. So we want to make sure that we use the heavy duty stuff like those Clorox wipes or those types of things in that hand sanitizer when and where we need them. And then deferring back to our greener products for all the in-between stuff. Personally, I do use hand sanitizer when I'm out and about because I don't know who touched those door handles before me, or if I got there before or after they were cleaned, because I know that we can really count on most businesses and most public places to really be taking on that burden of protecting us. But we definitely don't want to forget about that safety factor while still protecting our health in other ways by using, there's no reason why we shouldn't always, if you want to make a toilet cleaner, there's no reason why you shouldn't always use that. That's not a surface that is really of the highest concern in our homes for the COVID situation. So that's going to get your toilet nice and clean. It has antibacterial properties and it is a reliable recipe with ingredients that are easy to get a hold of. We also want to remember that from a waste perspective, to dispose of masks, if you're using just one-time use masks, or if you're using gloves, those types of things need to get into the trash cans and they have to go to the landfill. They're not recyclable materials unless there's a specific special recycling program for them, which I know like TerraCycle does, but it's not readily available to most of us. So just making sure that we're disposing of things properly, not just those household hazardous waste, but the materials we're using in other ways to keep us safe, making sure that we're disposing of those properly. I like to include tea tree oil into a lot of my recipes. A few drops of that give it a nice tea tree smell, but also, again, is another added layer of that antibacterial protection. So I would recommend that if you're looking to really get the biggest bang, but also the greenest products, using those recipes that have the baking soda in them and adding a few drops of tea tree oil is going to be a great.
Okay, great. And then what about for the cleaners that people are using now that are not, that are the non-green ones that we buy from the store? Traditional, yeah. What about the bottles that, are those recyclable? Are those things that they should be recycled?
So yes and no. You want to make sure that they're rinsed before you would put them in the recycling. You definitely don't want to leave, little bits of them in the bottom. But yeah, most of those plastics should be recyclable. If you have, like the clear plastic or the white plastic that feels more like a laundry soap bottle or a milk jug or your laundry soap bottles, those can all be recycled. I do recommend giving them a rinse though.
Okay. And then Barbara wants to know, does borax have any antibacterial qualities like baking soda?
I believe that there's a little bit, it's less than baking soda. And I do also want to caution that borax and baking soda in high enough quantities can also be toxic. So we want to make sure that we're storing those properly, that we're keeping those out of the reach of little hands and little faces and pets. So in the amounts that we use for the cleaning, they're perfectly safe and non-toxic, but in greater quantities, undiluted, they can cause issues. I do want to mention that. So the original question, I'm sorry, will you say that again?
Was
Antibacterial properties. Sorry.
Yeah.
Slightly, yeah. That's why it's good for laundry detergent. Baking soda has slightly more of the antibacterial properties, though.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then Kathy asks, is there an alternative for bleach in the washing machine?
Baking soda.
What about the non-chlorine bleaches?
I think it is still considered a household hazardous waste. It is just less toxic. So
Oh.
if again, we want to find that balance, right? So if using a non-chlorine bleach is essential to your cleaning process, then non-chlorine is better than a traditional bleach, but it is still a household hazardous waste. Either one of those bleaches are.
Okay. All right, I don't see any other questions. Anybody else have a last minute question? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Otherwise, Kate, you've been very thorough and
Thank you.
very informative. I had not heard of Earth 911, so I'm excited to hear about that resource.
Yeah, that's a great one. You can put in your location and the thing that you're trying to dispose of, and it'll give you options near and far if those are available.
Yeah, because I feel like people really want to do the right thing, but sometimes they just don't know where to get the information or where to turn to for that. Just, like we have the libraries having their paper shredding event coming up in August 21st. That's a Saturday. Yeah. And we'll have a pill drop off. So, the police department will be there to take unused prescription pills and not needles or salves or anything like that. But I mean, those are things that, I think people like, oh, geez, what do I do with this? Or maybe they don't even know. And so they just do toss them maybe down the toilet or in our water system or in the garbage. But so I think that, what you do is very important, getting the information out there. And, because I really feel people want to do the right thing. Sometimes they just aren't aware of it or they don't know where to turn. So I'm glad you've shared a lot of those great resources, and we'll get those all out to you folks too.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I think we've got two more in the chat. Someone says, thank you, Kate. And then Barbara says, thank you. And then Sheila says, great presentation. Thank you. And I would have to agree. So
thank you.
Yeah, so again, well, thank you all for joining us this evening. And Kate, thanks again for reaching out. And I'm so glad we were able to have you join us with your information tonight. So, right, so thank you all. Have a good evening and get cleaning.
Yeah,
right. Safely, of course, in a green way.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see you all. Thank you. Good night.